Think about this. What do you think makes a hero a hero? What are the key things that make someone a hero? Is it their cool outfit? Is it their special abilities? What do you reckon it is? I think that one thing that makes a hero is their ability to stand up for what's right and to do what's right. All right, there were three boys. Their names were Rack, Shack, and Benny, and they grew up in a town that was a long way from where they'd actually been born. When they were young, their city was actually defeated, and they were brought as captives to another place. But these people loved God, and they followed God, and they did their best to always do what's right. But there came a point in their lives when the king of the town that they were living in decided that he wanted to be worshipped himself. So he created a giant statue and said to everybody in the kingdom, when the horn blows, everyone has to bow down and worship me. And so the day came. The statue was ready. The horn had blown, and these three boys were together, Rack, Shack, and Benny, and they were hanging out. And as the horn blew, everyone around them started kneeling down. And that left the three of them standing. They wanted to do what was right, and they knew that worshiping something that wasn't God was wrong. So they stood. When the king found out about this, he was infuriated. He was so angry. And so he brought these three men and he said, hey, look, you might have just not heard the horn. Let's try this again. When the horn blows, bow down. Horn blows again. They stand up. And he says, you know what? I'm going to punish you guys unless you bow down. And they say, well, we can't do it because it's the wrong thing to do. And so what the king does is he grabs these three boys, Rack, Shack, and Benny, and he gets some of his guards to take them and throw them into a furnace. He was so mad. And the furnace was so hot that the soldiers that threw them in actually died from the heat. But as the king watched from a distance, he saw Rack, Shack, and Benny with their binds around their hands, and they were standing there. And all of a sudden, the things that were tying their hands together were burnt off. And a fourth person appeared in the fire with them. God was with them in the fire. And eventually these boys come out and they say, you know what, God protected us. And we see the result in the heart of the king in Daniel chapter 3. In Daniel chapter 3, verses 28 and 29, the king said, praise to the God of Rack, Shack, and Benny. He sent his angel to rescue his servants who trusted in him. They defied the king's command and were willing to die rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make this decree. If any people, whatever their race or nation or language, speak a word against the God of Rack, Shack, and Benny, they will be torn limb from limb, and their houses will be turned into heaps of rubble. For there is no other God who can rescue like this. And so we see when these three boys stand up for what's right, God has their back and he protects them. And so I want you to think about that today. Think about what it means for you to do right. You see, God has love for each and every one of us. And he loves us so much that he tells us how we can live our lives best. And I want to get a little illustration going here to demonstrate that. And I want to imagine you're this piece of paper, right? Imagine you're this piece of paper, and because God is your creator, God is able to define who you are. And so maybe he starts by saying something along the lines of, you know what? I love Jake, or I love Mike, or I love Jessica, or I love whatever your name is. And so I want them to know that they're loved. And then he adds in another fold and he says, you know what? I have a purpose for them. I have something that I'd like them to do. And he gives them another fold. And then maybe he goes again and he says, you know what? I want them to know that they're a part of my family. I want them to know that they're a child of God. And he gives them another fold. And then out of his love, he starts to give people instructions about how they can live their life. And he says, you know what? I'm going to give them the Bible, I'm going to give them the Bible that they can use to direct their life. And then he says, you know what? I'm going to give them community. I'm going to give them other people that love me and surround them with them so that when they're struggling, when they're feeling down, they'll have them as well. And then finally, he says, you know what? I'm going to give them some challenges. I'm going to give them opportunities to do the right thing. Not because he wants you to suffer, but because he wants you to soar. And so just like this plane, God has designed us in a way that is beautiful and reflects that he loves us. And he gives us opportunities every single day to do the right thing so that we can fly. And that was a really bad plane, so it didn't fly as well. But that's what I want you to remember today, is that God has designed you and created you in a way that is beautiful and is unique. And he gives us opportunities every single day to give him honor and glory by doing the right thing. And so as you think about that, I want you to consider this last promise. It's from the book of Romans, chapter 12. And it talks about doing the right thing. And it's Romans chapter 12, verse 21 that says this: don't let evil conquer you, but conquer evil by doing good. See, God has love for you. God has sent Jesus to die for you, so that when you believe in him, you can experience a relationship with him. You can know him today, and you can experience heaven with him as well. And so I challenge you to think about, what are the good things I can do today? When I get maybe a bit cranky, or when I get tired, or when I'm feeling lonely, or when I see someone else feeling lonely, if I see some bullying happening, what am I going to do to fix that? What can I do that's right? What is the right thing to do? Because as followers of Jesus, we're told not to repay evil with evil, not to stoop to the level of others when we feel hurt or feel down, but rather to conquer evil by doing good. God has created you to do good. He's created you beautifully and wonderfully. And he's given us directions in his word. He's given us community to help us and surround us. And he wants us to do good as well. So I challenge you today to be like those heroes, to be like Rakshak and Benny, and to choose to do good.